Once an individual cultivates the feeling of a fulfilled desire within themselves, their four-dimensional self finds means and methods to achieve that goal. I know of no better way to fulfill desires than to immerse ourselves in the mental image of being in the situation we seek to find physically. Once the desired state is achieved through this immersion in the end state, the means to achieve it are manifested. Due to its broader perspective, the four-dimensional self generates the means necessary to realize the anticipated end state. Anticipating a state that is not confirmed by sensory impressions is challenging for the undisciplined thinker. Here is a procedure that makes it easier to summon events before they actually occur, to call forth that which is not, so that it may be. Many people underestimate simple things, but this straightforward formula for altering the future is based on years of searching and experimenting. The first step is a clear definition of the goal. What exactly do you desire? Next, mentally prepare an event that you believe will occur following the successful fulfillment of your wish. This should be a clearly defined, specific event. Thirdly, induce a sleep-like state. Lie down on a bed or sit in an armchair and imagine that you are feeling sleepy. With your eyes closed, focus on the single scene you want to experience and immerse yourself in this mental image. Actively place yourself within the picture. Imagine that you are behaving here and now exactly as you see yourself in your imagination. It is crucial that you are actively involved and not merely a spectator. You must feel that you are behaving in this way, and it must feel utterly real to you. This particular scene should be something that happens immediately after the fulfillment of your desire, and you must immerse yourself in it until you feel all the facets of reality and clarity. Suppose you desire a promotion. An event likely to occur following your promotion is your colleagues congratulating you. After selecting this single scene as your mental image, relax your physical body and induce a sleep-like state. This is a twilight state in which you can still control your thoughts and remain alert, but without any tension. Now imagine that a friend or colleague is standing in front of you. Place your imaginary hand in theirs, feel its firmness, and then, in your imagination, have a conversation with them that aligns with the desired behavior. Ensure you view this scene as if it were happening close by. Transform the there into here and the future into now. The future event is now a reality in a dimensionally larger world, and curiously, the now in a dimensionally larger world corresponds to the here in the ordinary three-dimensional world of our daily lives. The difference between immersing yourself in the action here and now and merely visualizing the action, as if you were sitting in a movie theater, is the difference between success and failure in achieving your desire. The physical stillness in a sleep-like state and the immersion in a situation that appears real here and now are not only important factors for changing the future, but are also essential prerequisites for the consciously projected experience of the spiritual self. After the physical body has been stilled and we are seized by the idea of doing something specific, imagining doing it here and now, and then continuing the imagined sequence with feeling until we fall asleep, we are most likely to wake up in a dimensionally larger world with a dimensionally larger focus, actually doing what we wanted to do and had imagined we were physically doing. Regardless of whether we wake up or not, we go through the process in the four-dimensional world and will repeat it in the future here in the three-dimensional world. Experience has shown me that a single scene is more effective, and we should repeatedly play through this scene. Otherwise, our attention follows its associative paths and presents us with a multitude of related images. Within a few seconds, it can lead us spatially or temporally far away from our mental image. If your attention wanders, you must immediately bring it back. Continue this until you experience the mental image as solid and lifelike. Stay relaxed, maintain the mental image with minimal energy expenditure, and immerse yourself in the feeling of the fulfilled wish. Drowsiness facilitates this transformation because it involves no effort in maintaining attention. In this drowsy state, repeat a phrase that affirms the realized state, such as thank you or thank God. If we aim for a conscious projection into a dimensionally larger world, we must continue the process until we fall asleep. Immerse yourself in your imagination with all the nuances of reality into the same desired situation you would physically experience if your wish were already fulfilled. Then it's only a matter of time before you experience what you've imagined on the physical level. Feed your consciousness with premises, meaning assumptions that you accept as true, because maintained assumptions, even if they appear unreal to the senses, will solidify into factual realities. For an assumption, all means that lead to its realization are valid. It influences the behavior of everyone and conspires with movements, actions, and words that are aimed at its realization. Observing an event before it actually occurs assumes that this event is predetermined from the perspective of the three-dimensional world. To change circumstances here in the spatial three-dimensional world, we must first change them in the spatial four-dimensional world. People do not exactly know what is meant by a dimensionally larger world, and most would likely not hesitate to outright deny the existence of such a world. The three dimensions of length, width, and height are familiar to people, and they believe that a fourth dimension, if it were to exist, should be as obvious as length, width, and height. A dimension is not a line. It is any manner in which something can be measured, as long as it is distinct from other ways of measurement. Therefore, to measure something in 4 dimensions, we measure it in any direction except its length, width, and height. Is there another way to measure besides length, width, and height? Time measures our earthly existence without using these 3 dimensions. There is no such thing as an instant object. The appearance and disappearance of an object are measurable. The object lasts for a certain period. We can measure its lifespan without the dimensions of length, width, and height. Thus, time is definitely a 4th way to measure an object. The more dimensions an object has, the more substantial and real it becomes. A straight line, which exists solely in 1 dimension, gains shape, mass, and substance as more dimensions are added. What new property would time, the 4th dimension, bring, making it as superior to solids as solids are to surfaces, and surfaces are to lines? Time is a means of changing experiences, because all changes require time. The new property is changeability. If we cut an object in half, its cross-section becomes a surface. If we cut through the surface, we get a line, and cutting the line yields a point. Thus, a point is nothing but the cross-section of a line, which in turn is the cross-section of a surface, which itself is the cross-section of a solid object. Following this logic further, this solid object is the cross-section of a 4-dimensional object. We cannot deny the insight that all 3-dimensional objects are merely cross-sections of 4-dimensional bodies. To see the 4-dimensional self, I must view every cross-section or moment of their life from birth to death, all at once. I would need to focus on the entire spectrum of their sensory perceptions that they have experienced on Earth, as well as those yet to come. I would not see these in the order they were experienced, but as a present whole. Since changeability is the hallmark of the 4th dimension, I would need to see them in a flowing state as a living, animated whole. What does this imply for us in the 3-dimensional world? It simply means that we can move along the timeline. We can see the future and change it as desired. This world, which we hold to be so solid and real, is merely a shadow from which we can step out at any time and beyond which we can move. It is an abstraction of a more fundamental and dimensionally larger world, which in turn is abstracted from an even more fundamental and dimensionally larger world, and so on, into eternity. Regardless of how many dimensions we add, the absolute remains unreachable through analysis. Humans can prove the existence of a dimensionally larger world quite simply by focusing on an invisible state, immersing themselves in this state and living into it. If one remains focused in this state, their current environment will disappear, and they will awaken in a dimensionally larger world, where the object of their contemplation becomes a concrete, tangible reality. Intuitively, I believe that by abstracting his thoughts from this dimensionally larger world and further expanding his consciousness, he would once again externalize time. He would find that space becomes dimensionally larger with each retreat into his inner consciousness and each externalization of time. For this reason, he would conclude that time and space are serial in nature, and that the spectacle of life is merely the ascent of an immensely large dimensional block of time. However, our concern here is with practice. We now want to see how we can reshape our future as desired using this serial universe. To change the future, we need to deal with two worlds from the infinite series: the world we know through our senses and the world we perceive independently of our senses.